Good morning and welcome everybody, including our fire service personnel here. We are in new furnished accommodation. Somebody was asking, I wonder what happened to the tables. I'm wondering what happened to the chairs, because they are protected by the Lord Lion. So I would hope that they'll make their way to the museum. However, we are in different, and it is completely different for me in terms of the layout of the chairs and just the refurbishment. So, welcome everybody. I've got to go through this. Could I remind members to follow the good practice, which includes muting the microphones when you're not speaking, and also, you know, the videos as well. So that's common practice now. Again, should you wish to contribute, then please put in chat that you wish to speak, and you'll be brought in at the appropriate time. Hopefully I can follow in order. Again, should your question be raised, I think this is common practice, that you know, trying to get through the business, that you refrain from asking the same question twice. Usual standing orders apply, including that votes will be taken under roll call. Again, if any member leaves the room, then or the teams, that they intimate on their chat. Before I start the meeting, I'm going to read out a statement, and some will affect you more. You know, people that will be affected, but the particular factory, and I'm referring to Rowan Glen, does cover there are people from Stranraer right through who are employed at Rowan Glen. So, you know, I'm sure we'll all be deeply concerned at the announcement that the Dale Dairies, I think, in Southern Ireland, are talking about closing two factories, one at Pulnure and the other one in Kendal, in Cumbria. I understand this follows a review of its business and has resulted in proposals which would see the possible closure on the plants at Newton Stewart and Kendal, just as I said. Again, we're deeply concerned and could have our hard-working local community, their families and our rural economy that will be affected, and it will be a devastating blow. I think I go back to a number of years ago. Some of you in Newton Stewart will remember it, when we had the fish processing factory, St James's, that were employing 25 local people, and at that time they only leased the factory, and they couldn't tried the hardest to get somewhere else to get a lease of another factory, and we couldn't find it. Unfortunately for the people in Newton Stewart, but fortunately for the region, we managed to locate that to Annan, and now there are two factories there, and St James's serves the whole of North America. We wouldn't want the same to happen at Pulnure, so we've got to do everything that we possibly can as a council. It's not our responsibility, but we've got to make sure that South of Scotland Enterprise, Scottish Government are behind this, and that we try to save the 40 or 50 jobs at Newton Stewart. So if anyone wishes to make comment, I'm open to comment there.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would fully support your comments. I think it's going to be a major blow for the economy around about Newton Stewart, and we do need to do everything we can to try and keep that factory operational if we can, or if that's not going to happen, then find another use for it. And I'm sure our council will be doing that and working with the company to try and secure its future.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. I think as the Chair of Economy and Resources, obviously it needs to be a priority. It's, you know, I understand there's at least 48 employees at the site, so it is going to have a big significant blow to the area. Obviously, we will feel it very acutely here across Wickenshire, but I am aware that there is collaborative work and everybody is looking cross-party to look at how we can support. So I think having the support from Wigtown Area Committee as well is really important in acknowledging that. And just thank you for raising it ahead of the meeting today. Thank you.
Just come back in for 1 second. I contacted the company that set it up a number of years ago, or at least a contact within that company, and ask them to flag it up to see whether there might be interest in that company coming back in and having a look at it. So, I mean, that's an avenue that may be worth exploring by the council.
If anyone has any information or contacts or whatever that's of value to us, and I think we should be trying everything in terms of if the current owners don't want to continue, then for someone else to come in and to try and retain the assets that are already there. So I think if we put on record that our deep concern and that we're doing everything we possibly can, just as Katie has said, even from the Economic Committee. Jackie, you want to come in?
Yeah, just quickly, Chair, and I will, you know, support and appreciate your comments. I know that Finlay Carson has been doing a lot of work with the CEO of Dale Farm, or not a lot of work, but being as supportive as possible, shall we say. And just to come back on your comment there about the current owners not wanting to carry on, if you like, in Newton Stewart or Kendal. It's not a case of not wanting to, I believe. I think it's a case of they can't. And I think it's probably, in my opinion, I think the factory or certainly Dale Farm is probably one of the first, certainly in our area, that is going to feel the effects from the crisis that we're currently in, and yet cross-party support is inevitable here, I think, and it is incredibly sad that in such a difficult time at the moment that employees, if you like, and employers that are involved are having to face this decision making. So hopefully something can happen. My fear is that if someone does buy it, then it's only going to be a matter of time before the same happens again. But it will buy the employees time to obviously put alternative in place. So yeah, it's incredibly sad, and thank you for raising it, Willie.
Yeah, whether it's can't or won't, I just don't want to see the factory and the 40 odd jobs going, Jackie. And if there is anything we as a council and with our parliamentarians, that we've got to be doing everything we possibly can to ensure that the jobs are saved and that there is, for the families and the people who are employed there. We need to be doing pulling everything out of that we need to make sure we try and keep that open. When you say, I kind of see a chat there to see that people are wanting in. Well, God, yeah. I'd cut off my right arm, be ambidextrous here. Right. Sorry, Jackie, I know letting you in there. Can we move on then? Sorry, I didn't say that this is recorded and it'll be put online after the meeting, so we all know that whatever we say is being recorded for public purposes. Can we move on to the Sedrant and apologies? Claire, if you intimate.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We've got one apology this morning from Councillor Whitelaw. We've got one member present on Teams, being Councillor McCammon, 5 members present in the chamber. Councillor Justy currently not present, although I believe he intends to attend via Teams. And for the first time, we've got 2 Youth Council representatives present on Teams, being Finlay Anderson for Ward 2 and Chloe Allison representing Ward 1.
Could I just welcome Finlay and Chloe to I believe this will be their first meeting, and hope that you find this of interest and that you are able to contribute throughout the proceedings. Can we move on to declaration of interest? Any declarations of interest in the agenda? We'll move on to item 4. Scottish Fire and Rescue Service.
Item 3. Minutes.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself trying to get finished. Item 3, minutes for approval. Correct record?
Yeah, approved.
Chair, can I come in, please?
Jackie?
Sorry. It's just a point in the minutes from the last meeting of 5.3. As you will remember, that there was appointments to outside bodies, and I volunteered for the Wickenshire's Women Aid. There's a bit of confusion happening here. I'm not sure what's going on, but I've never heard from them. I contacted Fiona, who I believe is the manager, and we arranged a call. I tried calling her, and we just didn't get to speak because there was an emergency when I phoned. So get a follow-up on what's going on there, because I'm totally confused. I really don't have time to chase people. So if someone could follow that up for me, please, that would be great.
Yeah, Jackie, we're just approving the minute, Jackie, and I'm sure that you'll be able to do that with the officers. Can someone deal with that with Jackie as an issue? Okay. Minutes approved.
Yeah.
Move on to item 4. This time, we've got the Commander Ways today. John, that's a good title you got there. John and Tony from the Fire and Rescue Service. We've got a really extensive report, and it's really, some of them is actually, you're to be praised for the work that you're doing here, and I know it's localised now, or more localised to the Wickenshire area, and some of the performances are exceptional in terms of against other areas, so that's worth noting. Also, I see in there that in the report it talks about the youth in the development, and I understand now we've got youth, and I've seen some of the photos on Facebook, so that's really a great development there. There's various other legislation and fire systems, I'm sure you'll come to, John, but you know, it's disappointing, as you're saying, but members will want in terms of the percentage increases. So, John, is there anything that you want to add that's not in the report?
Thanks, Chair. I've put forward the covered report, which is off the back of the sort of bigger performance report that's in there. A couple of things in addition to that report I'd just like to highlight. One being that we have a new fire appliance coming to Wigtown Station, and that should be on station within the next couple of months. That's a brand new fire appliance. It comes fully kitted as well, so I'm sure that will greatly be appreciated by the firefighters and the local community down there. Just a couple of pieces in the report as well. Again, there's a few areas which shows an increase in activity from the fire service in the Wickenshire area. But as I've sort of alluded to, that's pretty much down to coming back out of the COVID, which we experienced last year, where a lot of the businesses and such like was closed or not operating to their full extent. So that's partly the reason for a slight rise in some of the activity that we've had over the last year. Just on the youth volunteer scheme, yep, that's been a bit of success for the area, and along with me today is Tony Reid, who heads up this very new activity that we've brought into the area, and Tony can probably give you a little information on that if you're happy to hear a wee bit of information on it and how it's running.
I'm sure we'll cover the questions, John.
Right. Other than that, if there's any questions within the common report that you would like answered, I'm quite happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Open it to comments, questions. Katie, Davey.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for the report, and obviously this is historical, so we're looking back at the year. I say it every time, and I'm going to say it again, really appreciate how it's set out in the report. I know I've been trying for a while to get the police to follow the lead with yourselves in terms of reporting, just because it makes it really clear for members, but also for members of the public, because we want this data to be accessible to all. So I just once again thank you for that one. Also, I just wanted it to be noted as well, because it's a subject that we've discussed over the years, and that's the unwanted fire alarms, especially across D&G schools. So it's really encouraging to see that that work has actually seen the reduction on there. So it's more comment really, Chair, but just wanted to put those on the record to say thanks.
There we go. Yes, Chair. Page 16, 3.8. The report in general is a really positive report. You know, this item at 3.8 on page 16 is a real concern. You know, it's almost double the number of deliberate fire settings, and there appears to be a focus on the narrative within that report is on youth. And it also highlights that the majority seem to be concentrated in Stranraer. It would be useful if we can have a ward breakdown of that, just to give us a rough idea. But it is a concern, that one, and given the increase in vandalism and things that are happening in the region, this is something that we're going to have to watch closely, Chair. The other concern that's been highlighted in the past has been recruitment. And I don't know how your recruitment, are you still finding it difficult to recruit to places like Wigtown and Ramore and, you know, the further outlying stations? Thanks, Chair.
Two questions, one on youth and the other one on recruitment. John and Tony want to take that?
Aye, thanks, Chair. I can probably pass the first question about youth engagement on to Tony. I'll just note that there has been spikes, probably more so in the Dumfries area. We've had a few instances there, and Stranraer as well, but I can assure you that the community safety team has been working hard in these areas, and if I can bring Tony in, he can probably give you a bit more information as to what exactly they're involved in doing so.
Yep. Over the past few months, we've been doing a bit of work along with weekly group and whatever, doing open days and right around the housing schemes, trying to reduce, and this has still been ongoing in all the local villages. We've also got a programme in place now that the schools are back to do talks at the school, and we're going to introduce that to every school over the next coming years. We're going back a wee step, and we're going to start introducing the primary 6. And we've got an operation safety which gives all the input every year to primary 7s right through the whole area. So we're going to step back the way again and introduce that to the schools, to primary 6 and then further on, and continue wherever we're needed to try and reduce the amount of deliberate fires by education and whatever other way we can reduce the impact on the area.
Sorry, there's no audio online.
My apologies. Just regarding recruitment, I'll just clarify that again. We do have reduced numbers at Ramore Station and Wigtown Station, and as I was saying, we do have recruitment drives on for recruitment day both at Ramore and Wigtown on the 17th and 18th of this month. Hopefully that will get some more numbers through the door and obviously boost the recruitment there. As an interim measure at the moment, we do have a pilot scheme running, which is like a flexi duty system for firefighters. So if we've got on-call firefighters at surplus at other stations, we can move them into these stations to cover shortfalls in a short and medium-term sort of system at the moment. We're very lucky at Stranraer and Wickenshire. We've got full numbers there at the moment, and what we've actually done is we've bolstered the numbers even further to have above the usual numbers, just so we can move these firefighters to other areas to make sure we've got guaranteed cover, if you like, in the bits that show up. And that's pretty much, but the recruitment thing is a struggle throughout the whole area, I would say, but we're working hard to achieve our goals and get the numbers back up. Thank you.
Yeah. If I can get my mic to work. Yeah, I fully appreciate it. It must be a nightmare recruiting at the minute. You know, everybody's busy, difficulty getting men away from jobs to, you know, to get involved in the service. So hats off to you that you've got to where you are, and hopefully Wigtown and Remore, you know, you'll manage to get them back up as well. Thanks, Chair.
Chloe first, and then yourself, Chrissy.
This is more just a comment on the youth volunteer scheme. Obviously, knowing some youths that do take part in this, they actually do really, really enjoy it, and it does build them up a lot of skills that they wouldn't get otherwise. So I'd just like to say well done and thank you to yourselves for putting that on for youth in Stranraer.
Thanks, Chloe. Chrissy?
Yeah, just coming on that bit, I went along to the fire station, and I just want to commend you on what a fantastic job you're doing with the youth. They've also been out at lots of local events, and the youth have been there, and it's just really encouraging to see. And as we spoke on the day, it'd be great, I know you all volunteer your own time to go in and help these kids. It's not, you know, paid, but it'd be great if you could roll it out over Wickenshire. I know that's asking a lot, but you know, it is fantastic, so well done for that. It was great to come along, thank you.
Tony, do you want to respond in terms of, I didn't mean to cut you off at that, but you know, you may want to respond just how well the youth volunteers are doing.
Yeah, thanks very much
Tying
for
with
your
Chloe
comments.
and Chrissy on this one.
Yeah, the youths have been running very, very well, and we've introduced at this end the area at the minute. We were looking at introducing it in Dumfries at some point, so it's going to try and cover different areas, and possibly the next time would be just to bring people from outlying villages in, not just seclude anybody from being out, but it's obviously because it's volunteer, the mums and dads need to get them there. So we're looking at that if next time, maybe next year, add on to Stranraer Station, and we could take people from outlying villages, but it really is up to them to get them in and back and forward. And we've got people from Dunragget at the minute, so it's not an issue. It's just this was a pilot scheme, and we're hoping to add more on next year and possibly start it in Dumfries in the future. It's a very, very good cause. Massive, massive bonus to the kids for their efforts and performance, because it's a massive difference in them in a short term, and that's what's needed across the area. So, thank you.
I know I spoke to Gavin, I'm surprised you didn't mention it. I think you're looking for cash for financial support, so for us as members, I think we need to look favourably on any applications that come in, because if we are drawing them from outlying areas, then these kids need support, so hopefully we can provide that to the excellent work you're doing with the kids. And again, that could start to tackle some of the antisocial behaviour. And I know you've got that on page 16. It's not just the firefighting, we need everybody in all the agencies working at the antisocial behaviour. So well done to you. Chrissy, do you want to come back?
Yeah, especially with, you know, the firefighters having their own jobs and working hard and volunteering to do this, it really needs to be commended, because they do a fantastic job. So,
anyone else? Any chat? Anyone on it? Could I ask John, and again commend you on the narrative that you've put to this, and then tying that into the graphs. And I'm looking at and I've raised it in the past, the A75 in terms of road safety, road accidents, and it surprises me, well, maybe surprises me, Stranraer in terms of road accidents, RTCs, is one of the lowest. And then we look at Annan East and Eskdale and Annan North. I'm looking at this more to the A75 and to reflect the number of accidents and how you feed back that information to the Scottish Government in terms of suitability of the road on the back of some of the accidents that have happened, HGV vehicles that are in crashes, slipping over. When I look at that, it's almost, it works out to, over the year, about 2.5 per week, per month, which is pretty high, but it doesn't reflect in the graph. Any comment, John?
Well, the way this is set out, you're right in saying that it looks as if it's not a high number. I suppose it is in relation to the east of the region, with the 74 running through it. There's more traffic running through there, and there is more instances. That's not to say that the road safety isn't a big issue in this area, because it is quite constant, and we do have a number of, as you know, HGVs coming through this area. But we'll quite happily support the upgrades of the road, because I ken it's a big issue in this side of the region, and quite rightly so. But as numbers go, like say this graph doesn't properly reflect the amount of incidents or more serious incidents we do have regarding HGVs.
I would just ask if you could take it back and see if there's any way that you can encapsulate, you know, the A75 in the reporting system.
Absolutely. I can narrow that down, and I can supply something for the next meeting if that's a direction you'd like me to take. I can have a look.
If you would, John. I'm not saying the 77 because you've only got a small section of that 9 miles. Yep. On the 77, so that would be covered mainly by South Ayrshire. But if you could, that would be great.
I can narrow that down, Chair, and get a look at, I can narrow it down to sort of vehicles or HGVs as well, so we can get a clear picture of what's actually happening. Yeah. No bother.
Anyone else wanting in? Nobody in chat? Can we move to the recommendations? Members are asked to scrutinise the performance, which we've done, for Dumfries and Galloway Scottish Fire and Rescue Services for the period of the 1st of April 21 to the 31st of March 22, as detailed in the appendices. Happy to agree with the recommendation?
Yep.
Yep.
We'll need to find a system that works better with these mics and everything. Item 5, which is a carryover, if you like, from the last committee meeting that we had, and it's the appointment to outside bodies. We have 2 that we need to populate, and that's the Maccas Action, where we need 2 members. If possible, and again on the Wigtown Bay. Thanks, John. Thanks, Tony. Wigtown Bay Local Nature Reserve Advisory Management Committee. So that's 2 for Maccas Action and 2 for Wigtown Bay. Yeah, 1 for Wigtown Bay. Yeah, I think it clarifies in the report that they are going to constitute themselves. This is the Wigtown Bay one, and up until then, the member would be covered by council insurance, and thereafter they could look at the indemnity within their constitution. So, volunteers for the Maccas 2?
Yeah, I'm happy to do Maccas Action, Chair.
Volunteer. Better than 10 pressed persons. Davy? Have we agreed on Davy? Agreed? I'm going to the recommendation to appoint 2 we've done, and to appoint 1 to the Macas Action, and to appoint 1 to the Wigtown Bay. That will be for Macas, Davy and Cressy, and for Wigtown Bay Nature Reserve Management Committee is Davy. Agreed? Item 6 is the Wigtown Area Committee tackling poverty and inequality budget. We have that before us. We've got £51,531.06 to disperse. I think this is an issue that we need to be getting the money out as quickly as possible, and welcome any comment as to how we might be able to do this. No might be, but how we may be able to do this. Just to correct my wording there, Jackie. So, comments?
Thank you, Chair. So, I mean, as you pointed out there, I think getting this money out into the community has to be a priority at speed. Obviously, people are facing unprecedented times with cost of living crisis, and I would absolutely support how we can get that out as quick as possible. I do see within the report that we're being asked to agree the priorities, eligibility and criteria, and certainly when I look on page 44, we have got the priorities within this. Now, in years gone past, I appreciate that we have had a member seminar, but because of the council elections, we've not had the same time frame leading into this decision. I know in the past we've looked at all of these issues and thought, they are really important for all the people in Wickenshire. However, at this point in time, I would maybe like to suggest that food security and energy and fuel needs to be a priority, because we're facing a winter where people are not going to be able to potentially have food or heat their houses. So if we're going to look just at the priorities, certainly my view at this point would be that we just look at priorities 1 and 2. And while I appreciate in point 13 it makes reference to £10,000 for single organisations and £20,000 for collaborative, I'd just like to highlight that it says unlikely to be considered, but obviously it would be, I would hope within our gift, that if there's applications in for a single organisation above 10,000, that we could maybe consider those as well. So I'll maybe put it back to the other members of the committee to discuss further. Thank you.
Jackie?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think I ask this question every time this comes up on the agenda. But considering how, and I agree, we need to get this money out fast, especially in these times. So I think I ask it, like I say, quite often, and I don't seem to get a full-on answer. But how are we promoting that this is available, this money is available to constituted bodies, shall we say? Because as far as I'm aware, or what I've seen so far, area committees tends to be the same organisations that apply. So I just wondered how we can reach out further to people. Are we able to, or is it just something that's set in stone? If it is, can we look at it? But how do we tell people that this money is available?
Ingrid?
Thank you, Chair. Just to reassure members that we do go out to a range of groups and organisations across wards 1 and 2 with the information that this money is available to groups. And we will be doing that again. We also use our colleagues within third sector, Dumfries and Galloway, and also within health. And we look to extend that knowledge as far and wide as possible. And I would hope and think that, on this occasion, that groups are going to be, really keen to apply for this money and keen that we get it out the door as quickly as possible.
You okay with that, Jackie?
If I could just come back in here just for a second. Yeah, thank you, Ingrid. That is reassuring. But I think I'm looking for more detail of how we do that. So we go out to organisations, but it's for my own information, please. Just a brief description of how we do that. Do we contact people who have applied in the past and failed, or were successful? Just a bit of detail of how we reach out to organisations, please, just briefly.
Ingrid, is that possible? What's being asked?
We certainly will have the information through our colleagues within kind of grant applications team of what applications we have that have come in and what has been successfully awarded and maybe what has been unsuccessful. So can certainly, you know, come back to members with as much information as I possibly can.
Jackie, you get anything that you think we're not getting out to groups or organisations? Have you any?
No. So I'm just not clear on how we are choosing the people that we reach out to. That's all. I mean, it's just maybe something that I'm unsure of that I need the detail on. Maybe you could tell me, Councillor Scobie, how we do it, because, like I say, it seems to be the same people that apply for the certain funding. So, especially, like I say, in these times, it would be good if we could reach more people, especially when we're underspending within the council.
My understanding is that it's the normal people, the organisations who work in this field in tackling poverty, and we rely on our anti-poverty officer who does an excellent job, Wendy Jessen. So we know who's out there in the field delivering the services to people who require food, fuel, energy, food banks, the cafes that do this job, and that's generally the way that we do it. But if you've got another way that you think that we're no reaching groups, then please feed into the system.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm asking, because I need to know, first of all, how we do it, and then I can maybe suggest Ingrid offline. Yeah.
Davy.
Yeah, I think the point we're looking at there is how do we promote it? You know, do we target the companies that we've always done, or are there other organisations out there that might be missing out because they don't know when the timelines are for this? And I think that's probably the point that we're trying to identify. But I'm pretty sure, as you say, Wendy's done a fantastic job, and she'll pretty much have it covered. But I think it would be good to have that clarity.
I think members need, you know, if we're going to try and get this out as quickly as possible, you know, any delay would mitigate against that. I'll just make that point. I think, Finlay, you want to come in?
Thank you. I might be jumping ahead here, but under section 3.4 on page 41, it just says scoring panel assessments. And I was wondering if there would potentially be an opportunity for young people to be involved in this. Maybe someone from wards 1 and 2 in the youth council, maybe, I'm not sure. Just wondering that. Thank you.
Scoring panel, if there's a young person on it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and hi, Finlay. We certainly have an established scoring panel at the moment, but we would welcome young people's input within that, so I'll be in touch.
I think you've put yourself in for a job there, Finlay. Jackie, you want to come back?
Yes, please, Chair. So it was just on my last point there. So what Davy has just said is absolutely right, just clarification. And also I want to comment that my question isn't to, it shouldn't prevent any applications or the process currently going ahead. So I don't want any delay on anything for getting money out as quick as we can. I just want to know the process, that's all.
Davy?
Yeah, Chair, sorry, can we just come back to Katie's point on the priorities? And I think I would tend to agree with that, given the circumstances that we're facing in Dumfries and Galloway at the present moment in time. Are we in a position where, having not had a seminar, that we can focus on 2 priorities rather than the 7 that we have here? Are we able to do that?
It's within the gift of the area committee, so we can do it if it's deemed that the majority or everyone has agreed to that, then that can be minuted today. So it's within our gift to do that without the seminar. Katie, you want back in?
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Ingalls, for that. I think just in terms of 2.2 of the recommendations, I'm really happy to sort of formally move that we have priority 1 and 2 and delete at this point 3 to 7 under the priorities. However, I would also like to suggest a couple of other amendments to put to members. So on the
members want to move to the recommendations then. Are you finished with any discussion, any questions before we move to recommendations, Kate?
If I maybe put the suggestions and open it up for debate, I think that would be helpful, because obviously getting consensus is obviously the the way forward that we want to be working. Eligibility and point 4, it states 100% of the total funding cost for projects will not be considered. I think potentially we could change that wording to may not be considered, because at this point I would hate to exclude anything, you know, if there's a specific project coming in, just because we've got these exceptional circumstances. And I would also look to add in point 5 that funding will only be available for projects delivered, and I would change that wholly within the Wickenshire area, just to ensure that if the money remains within Wigtown. I know in the past there's been projects that spanned right across Dumfries and Galloway, and we've contributed a small amount, but I would maybe move that we keep that money within Wigtonshire. And my final point, if I may, is on the criteria 8, which makes reference to core costs will be considered under exceptional circumstances. I think we are in exceptional circumstances. The fact that these core costs are defined by utility bills and rents, I think we absolutely need to be seeing that and supporting those organisations. So perhaps maybe just, again, changing will to may and removing the exceptional circumstances, just to ensure that we can make it as easy as possible to get this money out. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with what's been suggested here, Chair. I'm presuming that we would review this next year again to make sure that we get the criteria set back in place again. That we, you know, that I'm not saying that some of the changes might not continue over the next couple of years, but certainly we need to look at them again. But I think I'd be quite happy to support the move.
Jackie, you want back in?
Yeah, it was just to to say, yeah, I was going to mention timescales, if you like, or a review, because, you know, it needs to be, and like Katie said, under criteria point 8, these are exceptional times, so we absolutely need to get money out the door to the right people, with the right criteria and priorities. And but like Councillor Inglis said, we definitely need to put a timescale on it, or review, shall we say.
Any other contribution before we move to the recommendations? And then we're ready to move to the recommendations.
I'm presuming that the organisations that have historically bid into this will be notified of the change in the criteria.
Yep.
I think that's a given. We move to the recommendations then. And 2.1 is to note the tackling poverty and inequalities budget set at 51,000 as outlined in paragraph 3.2. And this is where, Katie, do you want to repeat perhaps so that we've got unanimity?
Yep, I'm happy to do that, Chair. So under 2.2, agreeing the priorities, I have proposed that under eligibility, point 4, we change the word will not be considered to may be considered. Point 5, that the funding would only be available for projects delivered, and adding in completely within the Wickenshire area. I would also move that on criteria point 8, that the application for core costs will be considered, and removing under exceptional circumstances. And under the priorities on point 14, to remove number 3 to 7 and just keep wholly within that food insecurity and energy and fuel. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Has everyone got that?
Yep.
Everyone in chat got what Katie said there?
Yep. Yep.
Right. So on 2.1...
Back in just for a second. Just on 2.1, the 51,531.06, there's no way we can increase that figure. That's set in stone. Okay, thank you.
So under 2.2, it is to remove on page 43 the word will and put in may in the 100%. The other one in item 5 is completely to the Wickenshire area. Item 7 under criteria, again remove will to may. And under 8 take out under exceptional circumstances for the core costs as laid out there. And again, on priority under 14, is that we concentrate on food insecurity and energy oblique fuel. Is that agreed without going to move in second?
Thank you.
Chrissy?
Just on the support and loss of earnings on priority 6, just Rowan Glen sprung to mind. Would this come into that? I don't know if it's when we've been a new council or something that could be looked at, but with there being 48, 50 people that could be unemployed just before we get rid of that priority, could this fund possibly help some of those people that might lose jobs in the interim until they can sustain something else?
I think we've all got sympathy for that one, Katie, Chrissy, but what we've got is 51,000. And again, it's how realistic it is in terms of providing support. And any support is always welcome. You know, so, you know, add that in, and there's great sympathy for what you're saying, but how realistic is against the amount of money we've got to try and tackle anti-poverty. It's your consideration. There's a change there in if that is the case. Katie.
Thank you, Chair, and absolutely, Councillor Hill raises a really important point. I think, as we said though at the start of the committee, there's this funding is only up until March 2023, and I think we absolutely look for next year at how we take things forward. I appreciate there's going to be a lot of work done with SOCI, with PACE, strategically for that national support for the specifics of Rowan Glen, and I think we absolutely should be coming back to that next time, but I would certainly be looking to focus in, I think, just on those two priorities without taking away the hardship and acknowledging that there is going to be a lot of issues. But I would hope that as part of any package going forward, and I would hope that there's support from government with Rowan Glen, that that support is offered directly to those families with that specific project. Thank you.
Is that acceptable, Chrissy, or you want to move something different? Well, you're learning okay and good. Want to come in, Davy?
My point's just a bit pedantic. It's to change completely to exclusively within. Other than that, I'm happy.
No, I understand it's not a lot of money. It was just a point I wanted to make because we'd already brought up the Rowan Glen. We're saying, you know, supporting loss of employment. But like Katie says, hopefully the Scottish Government will be able to find some way to help those families if they need it. Thanks.
We might even get it for the new Prime Minister. We never know, and you know, and that's the core to the whole of the administration in terms of the cost of living and how we tackle that. This is only a small part of that, and as I said, there's sympathy for what you're saying in terms of people, but that's anyone who loses their job. It's just more devastating when it's in the numbers that we're seeing at Rowan Glen. Have we got consensus then?
Yep.
Can we agree, Wilma?
Apologies, Chair. Yes, I didn't. I missed that one out. It was the first point I raised at the start of this item, and that the applications over 10,000 for a single application and 20 are, and then removing the word unlikely, or perhaps we just need to remove that line completely.
All we say may be considered. So take out the words there. Applications, take out are unlikely to, and put in may be considered. And that just clarifies everything that we're saying. Thanks, Wilma. That's good. Can we agree, or do I need to go over the whole? Everybody get it? Everybody knows
agree.
what we've agreed?
Happy to agree.
Thank you. Could I return to the statement that I read out at the beginning in terms of Rowan Glen? I think it's important, and I would like to think that we could agree as an area committee that we ask, and Katie did refer to it, that she would be keen to support, and as we all are, anything we can do for Rowan Glen, that we look for the leaders of the council to try and make contact with Rowan Glen so that we can meet with the management and workforce to show that we are in support of the retention of the jobs in Rowan Glen, and that we seek an early meeting with management and with the leaders and area committee chair and vice chair. But Kate, you were going as RAC if we get it.
Thank you,
Could
Chair.
that be agreed?
My understanding is that's already in train and that's already being looked at, although it's not been highlighted, the Chair and Vice Chair of Wigtown Area Committee, but happy to assist in any way possible. But my understanding is the co-leaders are already, that is in train and it's part of a work package. Thanks.
I think it's important that we get it recorded here at the area committee, and that we do go forward with that so that it's coming from the area committee, and I'm sure it will be in trade, but I would hope that we can agree that as an area committee that would do everything. Jackie, you want to come in? I'm seeing you.
Yes, please, Chair. It was just to say that, yeah, absolutely agree with what you said. We do need to be seen to be doing everything we can. Although it may be limited what we can do directly, I think we need to be seen to be assisting everybody that we're able to. I know that Finlay Carson has passed on the CEO, Dale Farm CEO, contact details to the Chief Exec, Don Roberts, the council. I'm sure she'll pass that on if she hasn't already to the leaders, so I would expect to see some sort of update, if you like, from the leaders pretty shortly.
Thanks for that information, Jackie. So we agreed on that then? Yeah. That we will seek try and seek an early meeting with the management and workers at Rowan Glen, along with the leaders of the council. Okay, I have no other business. Thanks for your attendance.
Thank you.